Hey guys, in this episode, we're changing it up a little bit and we're going fishing, talking about how to set up your baitcaster reel for the first time. So be sure to stay tuned.
How about that?
So lately, we've been focusing a lot about precision rifles, but I'm wanting to expand kind of our channel and getting into things like fishing and coyote hunting. So you're gonna be seeing some more of these videos pumping out here pretty soon. You're still gonna be seeing precision rifle stuff on the channel, but we're going to broaden the things that we post on the channel and other things that we love to do. Like I said in the beginning, in this video, we're focusing on setting up your baitcaster reel for the first time. And to this, we're stepping outside my expertise and we're bringing on our resident fishing expert. We haven't even left yet and you're already reeling in fish, dude. This is
Nice sized bass too. Keeper bass. Ah, sweet. He's a keeper too.
Dude, you already caught a fish. We haven't even left yet.
I know. Right here waiting on the driver. See? Okay, you ready?
So I bought this, high quality, Lew's Walmart special classic reel. How do I catch fish with it?
Put a bait on it and just go to town. Well, you got to have some line on it first. Did you even bring any? Or we're just going to have to tie something to the end of it?
I brought a shoelace. Come on now.
Okay, there we go.
So we're going to start with putting some line on it.
And he chose 20-pound trilene braid.
We'll try some braid,
So we'll try that and see what happens. Okay, I usually just feed it through the first eye, so I don't have to try to, because I'm usually doing this by myself. Bring it around. Okay, now that I got it around it, if you reel, you can tell the spool is rolling backwards. So we need a knot that is going to pull it tight to make it stay. So if it's going to be pulling that way, we need the knot to allow it to get tighter as you're doing this. This is old man way. This is not. I'll go around, go around. I'm going around my tag end, running my tag end around the overall short line. So that I want this to clench down on. It's kind of like, I use it as like a fishing knot. I'll go through my loop. Maybe. I'll go through my loop. And then come back up through my other loop. Because I want that knot to continually to get tighter on me, so that as it pulls down, it's going to get tighter and not slip on it. That's the bad thing about this style baitcaster. A lot of the baitcasters have holes in there where you can tie it in the hole. See how we're getting it started on there? And you hold it just kind of pretty tight. Come out. And you just start spinning on there. I like to run it all the way up to about a 1/16, just over a 1/16 of inch left for it to before it gets to the top of the spool. That way you're putting as much line on it as possible. Some people don't, they like to try to put backers on these, and so they're not using so much braid and stuff. My problem is you incorporate a knot in between your backer and your main line. And this way right here, after you've cut the line off multiple times and everything else, because of changing lures, breaking, hanging up, snagging, you're able to keep going even though your spool is getting smaller on thread, but you still don't have to deal with a knot. There's nothing worse than trying to deal with a knot in the middle of a line, is my opinion. Okay, we've got it full. Now you've seen how I have the spool set up, and braid has no memory. So you're able to get away with this and do it the way we just did it. Now, if you deal with mono or you deal with fluorocarbon, you've got to take it off the spool and put it onto the reel the same way it comes off the spool, so that it doesn't wad up or it goes back into its memory state. You have a whole lot less problems. So with that being the case, you'll lay your spool in a way that it'll come off in the proper way and everything. But anyway, we got it off. All right, we've got our line on our reel. We're going to feed it up through the eyes now, making sure it doesn't get twisted on us. All right, now we've got the line on the reel, rod and reel. Now we're going to put the lure on, and I showed this in a previous video, but we're going to do it again, running it through the eyelet, coming up. I like this knot for several reasons. It's a good knot. There are better ones out there, but this one right here, I can tie fast, easy, and it holds. We're using braid, so I really don't think the knot's ever going to fail. Bringing it through, making a loop, make a loop around. All you do is just spin it around all the line, about 4, 5, 6 times. On braid, it does not require near as much twist as mono or fluorocarbon. Run it through your top loop that you held. You don't necessarily have to on this one right here, but on mono and braid, or mono and fluorocarbon, you have to wet it, or the line will get hot as you're cinching it down. Cut off the tag end. Voila! Rock and roll time. Now we're down to setting our reel. We have one adjustment here, and then we have a magnet adjustment over here. Usually I go ahead and I set them down pretty tight, and then start backing it off as need to be. This one right here, I do the drop test and just start with it. Basic where I start at with a brand new reel is I do the drop test of how fast it drops. If it drops too fast and it wants to wad up here on the spool, then I crank it down. But on the most part, it seems to be pretty decent. Yep, see that? You hit the water, then keep going. You can see that right there. This is where I'll start. I try to keep working on getting it looser where I can cast further, but I don't want backlashes and everything. All right, we talked about our first break already. We're going to talk about the magnet break. I mentioned earlier briefly, but I like to crank it all the way down on my magnet break. And what its primary function is on long cast, at the end of the cast, has a tendency to start trying to backlash there. I keep loosening it up to the point where it's wanting to try to backlash, where my thumb is able to take over. But depending on what lure you're using, the weight of it, and everything else, whether you're in the wind, out of the wind, all that plays a factor of what your magnet brake needs to do, as well as your other brake. But I try to do it mostly through my thumb and my magnet brake on the side. The last thing is our drag, which is somewhat tough to set until you get a fish on the end. Now some people, and I can do too, you can actually grab the end of your lure and just pull the pole and see. Can't set it 100% until you have a fish on, but you can grab the lure, keeping the hook away from you, and just pull. See how much the pole's bending, how much if it's dragging, if it's letting line out, and then it's doing pretty decent. You can. This one thing I like about the Baitcaster is the drag is easily to tighten and loosen as you're fighting the fish to determine what you need to do, whether it needs to be more drag or less drag. The whole thing is trying to keep from pulling the hook out of his mouth, but not overstress the pole nor the line where it's liable to break and stuff. We're using braid, so your pole's having to do the bulk of your work. I think we're set up. We're at a good starting point to start trying to see what's going to happen on this thing, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're ready to do a cast and see what the reel does and everything. We're going to do our first throw, and I'm not going to use my thumb. I'm just going to see what the reel's going to do. See, it didn't do anything, but it didn't go mega far.
How far did it go?
Probably went, I don't know, 20 yards, 25 yards. So we've got the reel cranked down fairly tight, but that's fine. We're trying to figure out what the reel wants and everything else. So we can start, we'll do a drop test again. It's still, I'm gonna back that off just a hair there, and I'm gonna back my magnetic brake off some. Just see what happens. Okay.
So you loosened the reel?
I loosened the reel.
Okay.
Yeah, loosened the reel up. Okay, we're gonna do it again. It just barely tried to backlash.
With no thumb pressure?
But
No thumb pressure?
With no thumb pressure. And now we went probably about 40 yards. We're getting around there. We could probably loosen our side spool braking up some, but we'll see. I don't want to loosen my magnetic brake up any. Okay, I'm gonna loosen that just a little bit. Okay, here we go again. Look at there. And we went about 50 yards. Said you keep playing with it to see what the lure wants and what you can handle. You eventually want to get it where you can somewhat control it with your thumb and to get max distance out of it. But you can't have the reel so loose that it's out of control. See, when I do my drop test, it still wants to go just a little bit, but not out of control. That's where I like mine at. So, all right guys, I believe we've got it about as close as we need to. You'll constantly try to fine tune here and there depending on what you're doing, what lure you're throwing, and how the wind and everything else plays a factor. Biggest thing is don't get discouraged with using a Baitcaster. I've been there, I've done that, and but I wanted to learn it so bad I forced myself to go ahead and get back into it and not let it discourage me. Figure out the reel. Something I've always said right there, in order to conquer something, you've got to understand it. Once you understand it, then you're able to conquer it. I'm not perfect, I'm not the best, I backlash, but I don't let it discourage me. I keep going because I love a baitcaster over a spinning rod any day of the week if I can. But the spinning rod has its place, as well as the baitcaster.
That was not that good. Slightly off. Camera's over here about to overheat. Got something, got it.
Did you really?
Woo! Yeah, I had a few big names call me, ask me to be on their team, but I decided to shoot them down.
Fly by my own colors.
Yeah. I make my own path. Well guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Biggest thing, get out there, experience the outdoors, go fishing, go hunting, but do something outdoors because that's what it's all about. But until next time guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video.